So this is for Friday, March 20th, and we are working on Home Connections page 99 and 100. So again, we have some review. So we're going to go ahead and look at number 1, and the directions say to find the least common multiple of each pair of numbers. So we have the numbers 8 and 28, and again, remember that we are trying to find multiples. Yesterday we worked on factors. So we're doing like 5, 10, 15, 20. So you'll see here that multiples of 28, it's 28, then I'm going to multiply by 2, and then when we get 56. And so for multiples of 8, it's 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48, and 56. And then what we're trying to do is we're trying to reach a common multiple, so that's why we stopped here at 56, and they have 56 in common. So if we were to do another set of multiples, just as an example, I could go ahead and show you 6 and 8. So I've listed out for 6, 12, 18, 24, 30. Then I started with 8, 16, and 24, and I stopped at 24 because now I see that 24 is what 6 and 8 both have in common. Okay, so then you'll go ahead and you'll do A, B, and C, and that's going to help you complete number 2, because in number 2 what it wants you to do is rewrite each pair of fractions with a common denominator. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to compare them using greater than, less than, or equal to. So we have the examples of 6 eighths and 17 28ths, and that goes with the example that we just did in number 1. So if I go back over here, I just want to show you what's happening in the example. I have 6 eighths, and we need to have it equal something over 56 because that multiple we worked with was 56. So I'm going to think 8 times what equals 56? I know it's times 7. So whatever I do to the bottom, I go ahead and I do to the top. So it's times 7, and then I get 42. Now our next fraction was 17 28ths. So again, we're trying to find a common denominator of 56. So then I'm going to say 28 goes into 56. How many times? I know it goes 2 times. So whatever I do to the bottom, I go ahead and I do to the top. And 17 times 2 is 34. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to compare those fractions. So I'm going to rewrite it right here. And I can see that 42 over 56 is greater than 34 over 56. And so that also means that if I rewrote the fractions here, we could write that 6 eighths is greater than 17 over 28, which is what is being written right here. So that's how you do number 2. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to look at number 3, which is on page 100. And this one says, rewrite each fraction in simplest form by dividing the numerator and the denominator by the greatest common factor. A fraction is in its simplest form when its numerator and denominator have no common factor other than 1. You do not have to show your work if you can do it in your head. Okay, so this is something else that we also worked on yesterday with simplifying. So if I look at 9/15, what is the greatest common factor that 9 and 15 have in common? The biggest number that goes into both of them is 3, so you divide them by 3. 9 divided by 3 is 3, 15 divided by 3 is 5. So that is how you work these out. So if I did 4, 6, what is the greatest common factor that 4 and 6 have? The biggest number that can divide into both of them, I'll just do this one for you, would be 2. So 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. So that's how we do those problems. Now again, it looks like whatever we do in number 3 is going to help us in number 4. So it says rewrite each pair of fractions so they have the same denominator. Then find their sum. Sometimes you will need to find the least common multiple. Sometimes you might need to also to be able to reduce each fraction to its simplest form to find a common denominator. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at the examples. We have 5/8 plus 7/12. Okay, so we had done some of this work before, I believe, and I know that 8 and 12, they're going to have 24 as a common denominator. That's what they have in common for their multiple. So if I go back, and I'm just going to rework this problem onto another piece of paper. So 5/8 plus 7/12. I like to write my problems vertically. That helps me a little bit better. So I know that 8 and 12, they have 24 in common. And then again, I'm going to look at 8 goes into 24. I know 3 times. Whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. So I multiply it by 3 and I get 15. And then again, 12 goes into 24 2 times. Whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top, times 2. 7 times 2 is 14. Then I'm going to add 15 and 14 together. I get 29 over 24. Now this is an improper fraction, so I need to go ahead and change this into a mixed number. How do I do that? So this is basically a division problem if you look at it. 29 divided by 24. So I can look at it like this. I know that 24 goes into 29 one time. I'm going to go ahead and subtract that. I get 5, and then I have a remainder of 5 over 24. So my answer is 1 and 5/24. And I got that correct. Okay, so again, that is how you add fractions. If you're doing mixed numbers down here, you're going to use the same process. You just want to make sure you don't forget to add the whole numbers on the side. So there you have it. That is today's lesson for Home Connections page 99 and 100. If you have any other questions, please let us know. Thank you so much.